Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Next Planet Planeteers. Alexander Chase Newman bringing it to you with another video. And today I want to talk about, have you ever seen a $3,000 guitar? And we want to be able to answer questions like, what does one look like? And is it worth $3,000? So I've narrowed it down with my expertise and experience to three main qualities of a $3,000 guitar that really distinguish what it comes with when you talk about quality. Okay, so there are subcategories for the three main features of a $3,000 guitar, defined with keywords, so that we can explain and put special emphasis on each specific function of the quality of a $3,000 guitar. So quickly, I want to list the three qualities of a $3,000 guitar, and then we'll get into the specifics and the keywords that really emphasize what those mean. Okay, so number one is tone woods. Okay, number two is craftsmanship, and number three is hardware. Okay, so beginning with tone woods, tone woods are responsible for things like response, voice definition, and sustain. Okay, so have you ever seen a tone wood? You should familiarize yourself with all of them. They're all sonically different. They all have different sustain, different response. They all have different voices and sounds, and some different tone woods are better for different styles of music than others. To give you an idea of what it means to use a different tone wood, like you don't see a lot of people playing metal with Fenders, you know what I mean? And that's just because they're the kinds of woods that they use speak a certain voice, and those voices are, I'm not saying you can't play metal on a Fender, because you can, but if you had took a Fender Strat and put it up against a Gibson Les Paul and you were playing metal, the difference would be night and day. You would be able to distinctly be like, okay, well, this one sounds better and this one sounds like it doesn't fit, right? And it's the same way around. You could take a Fender Strat and play country on it and put the Les Paul on it and be like, I think I like this one better, because different tone woods work for different stuff. So you should try all of them. Two of the best tone woods that I've found, that are pretty consistent across the board when it comes to top of the line guitars, are mahogany and maple. They're both really dense. They're really rich. They have a lot of character and sustain. So the reason different tone woods can cost more, okay, you can have a guitar that's built out of the exact same tone wood as another guitar player, but some slabs of wood are denser, they have uniformity, and sometimes maybe the weight will affect it too. But the reason that these are important is because so when we talk about uniformity, what that means is basically, that the wood that the guitar is made from doesn't have any sort of bubbles or knots in it, because those kinds of that uniformity factors into the sustain and the weight and all that. So that's why those are important. When you're paying for a $3,000 guitar, you get the densest, most lightweight, uniform piece of tone wood that the company could buy, that they could afford to give you for a good price. You know what I mean? So, an honest truth, are they worth it? You cannot add response to your guitar. And when I say response, what I'm talking about is how lightly do you have to push on the string before it speaks and comes to life. You know what I mean? Some tone woods are just more responsive. They're denser and they vibrate harder. They're more sensitive. So that's what we mean when we talk about tone woods. So number two, second feature is craftsmanship. Have you ever played a guitar and you could feel that the edge, the sharps were the frets were sharp. Um, have you ever played a guitar and you could feel on the edge that the frets were sharp? So that's what we mean when we talk about craftsmanship. When you pay for a $3,000 guitar, it comes with attention to detail that is unparalleled. This guitar, my Brian Moore custom guitar, it is so symmetrical and balanced, and it's just so comfortable. I mean, the difference is night and day. You just don't get the same sort of there's a higher quality control when you spend more money on a guitar. You know, they pay really close attention. So when I think you take a guitar that's built in a factory, that sort of environment almost conspires for more error, because then you're focusing on quality and not quantity. Brian Moore Custom Guitars, I'm pretty sure, builds guitars to order. They do that. You can get custom guitars. They have less expensive models, but we're talking about $3,000 model. This is the iGuitar 2000, and I think that it's got the 13-pin MIDI. Another thing about craftsmanship that I'll get into real quick. This guitar has some specific features that I think are really cool. So, giving you one right now, the contoured body. If you'll notice, it's not like entirely flat, like, you know, how some guitars are just flat on the top. There's a little bit of an arch to it, and it's so comfortable. There's a back pin featured input, right? So you don't have to stick your input in the big hole on the face here, right? It comes with these gold knobs, right? Super cool. So, anyways, it's so balanced. Everything feels sturdy. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's wiggling or, you know, vibrating that shouldn't be. And it's very lightweight. Is it worth it? Is craftsmanship worth it? I think that what it boils down to is feel, guys. If you started out on a cheap guitar and you're happy playing your cheap guitar, you may never notice these sorts of, you know, characteristics on a more expensive instrument. If you start out with a more expensive instrument and then you have to play a cheaper guitar later on, you will definitely notice. To me, this thing feels good to play. It feels like it was built by a guitar player for a guitar player. Sometimes I wonder if factory-made guitars are even made with, you know, the same sort of care, like someone who doesn't even play an instrument, you know what I mean, who's just there to get their paycheck. So, that's what we're talking about when it comes to craftsmanship. It comes down to feel. And last but definitely not least is hardware. When you pay for a more expensive guitar, you get name brand hardware, like these Seymour Duncan pickups. This was a choice that they add. If you want them, you can get them put in your guitar when they send it to you. It's got name brand, I think, Spertzl locking tuners up here. Okay? And so, when we talk about hardware, have you ever seen a guitar that has, you know, loose tuning knobs up here? They wiggle a little bit, or the nuts coming undone or something. That's what we mean when we talk about hardware. Have you ever played a guitar that just will not stay in tune at all, no matter how long you fool with it or whatever? That's because those parts are cheap. You know, these strings have a lot of tension on them. If your guitar's in, you know, any sort of standard, you'd be surprised at how much tension is pulling here. You know what I mean? And these parts have to be strong enough and made well enough to be able to handle that amount of tension, because it is a lot. And the better, you know, equipment you have, the better it's going to stay in tune. You know, the knobs, I just showed you guys the knob, but let's take one more look. Holy cow. Look at that. So beautiful. Oh wait, I'm gonna... Yeah. Oh, that's a good shot. Yeah. And so, you get what you pay for with hardware. You know, things that highlight hardware, the key words when we describe hardware is quality, and durability. You know, how long are these going to last? Are you going to need to replace them ever? So personal experience, Is it worth it? A personal experience I had with hardware, some pickups are good. You know, just coming out of the factory, some stock pickups are good, but like we were talking about earlier, there's less quality control on factory built guitars. So, with one of my factory built guitars, an issue I ran into, this is going to sound strange, the pickups were like the double coils, like humbuckers, and the copper wire had started to unravel out of the pickup, right? So there was like this copper wire sticking out, and I, thought to myself, well, that's not good. So the more I unraveled it, I tried to just cut it, but it kind of came undone a little bit. The more I would unravel it, the quieter that pickup became. It could still pick up, and it was so weird. I'm not even sure how pickups work, but stock guitar, stock pickups, it unraveled. I eventually replaced that pickup with other pickups, and it sounded much better. That was what solved the problem. So, when you get name brand stuff and you get solid hardware, you're gonna know that it's gonna be ready right out the gate. You're not gonna have to return anything. It's not gonna be defective. And companies that pride themselves in making things like pickups, like Seymour Duncan, they want you to be happy, and they want to give you something that they can be proud of too. They're a pickup company, so they know what they're doing over there. So we can take a look at this guitar just so you guys know what we're talking about. Okay guys, so when we talk about tone woods, two tone woods that I think are pretty consistent across the board with top of the line guitars are mahogany and maple. So this is a mahogany body with a mahogany neck. It's a rosewood fretboard, but the mahogany and maple is what we're going to focus on. And maple, so this is a maple top. It's so gorgeous, guys. It's even prettier in person. But so tone woods deal with things like response and voice definition and sustain. Okay, the response and sustain. The response and sustain is affected by things like density, stiffness, and weight. And an honest truth about tone woods, guys, you can't add response to your guitar. If your guitar, vibrates a certain way, that's the way it's going to vibrate. You can't make it, what am I trying to say? You can't make it sturdier. You can't make it stiffer, I guess. So, two's craftsmanship. Look at these, guys. Look at those knobs. Wow. You can't see it, but this guitar is so uniform and symmetrical and just beautiful. It feels comfortable. Everything about it is really nice. We'll do some extra bit on that one. Okay. The inlays are pearl. Oh my goodness. There we go. Yeah. There you go. And hardware, of course. We got Seymour Duncan pickups, Splitzer, Spertzel, I think Spertzel tuners, locking tuners. Rad. Alright, so that was my Brian Moore guitar, hooked up by, recommended by Ben Lacey. I'll put a link to their website in the bottom. You can order guitars, and you can also see my buddy rip one of these to pieces. So, everyone, if you like what you saw, like and subscribe, show it to your friends. Stay tuned, we got more videos on the way. Later.